Use a wood-burning stove. A wood-burning stove can create a very cozy and homey atmosphere during cold evenings. Aside from that, a wood-burning stove is very economical and a good alternative to save on fuel expenses to heat up your home. It is also now becoming fashionable to install a wood-burning stove in contemporary homes. With the new designs and configurations available, a wood-burning stove can find a place inside a country cottage or inside more modern homes. Below are steps on how to use a wood-burning stove. If you do not have access to wood that can be used for the stove, buy the pre-chopped wood. There are many suppliers where you can get your supply. If you have access to firewood, these should be dried out completely to ensure good and efficient burning. These should be placed on a wood pile where air can freely circulate. If you have chopped fresh wood, it is ideal to leave the wood for 1 to 2 years to completely dry before using them. Separate your stock of firewood. Segregate them into twigs, medium-sized branches and big logs. Cut them into about a foot long. Large logs should be split into smaller pieces before it can be used. To set a fire, loosely crumple pieces of newspaper and arrange them at the bottom of the stove. Break twigs into shorter pieces and use these to cover the crumpled newspapers. Add some firelighters in the middle of the small twigs. Add some small and middle-sized branches across the top of the twigs, forming a squat tent. If your wood-burning stove has a flue, open this first before you put a flame on the firelighters. Close the glass door of the stove to allow the fire to ignite the small twigs or kindling and eventually burn the smaller branches that you have arranged over the twigs. Completely dry wood will burn quickly and nicely, but you may still encounter initial smoke as the fire takes hold. Once the smoke has disappeared, you can open the glass doors of the stove once again. Close the flue slightly but watch it. Its smoke escapes and fills the room. Open the flue wider until the smoke dissipates and then close the flue slightly again. Add about 1 or 2 bigger logs when the fire has taken hold. Do not place the logs flat over the other burning pieces of wood. Always place them at an angle where one end is higher than the other. This will enable air to enter the bottom of the heap and supply oxygen to keep the fire burning. Use small and medium branches when you want a steady fire, but if the weather is cold and you want a roaring fire, add the bigger logs that you have split into 2. Keep watch over the fire. Add more kindling and twigs to keep the fire going. Do not get too close to the stove as the sparks flying may injure you. Logs can burn for 2 hours. If you are retiring for the night, bank the coals to one side of the stove and you will have sufficient heat until the next morning. Read the manufacturer's instructions on how to clean and maintain a wood-burning stove and follow them. Use only completely dry wood to get a good fire going. Damp and/or fresh wood will create too much smoke rather than fire, which can suffocate you. To save on your firewood expenses, buy the cut-offs from local sawmills, which are cheaper than the firewood that you can buy commercially.